long pan, in an oven that's about 250 degrees. And then you pour water about 1/2 to 2/3 up the sides of the cup. And what that is going to do, the water can only get how hot? 212. So 212, exactly. So that's a great thing. It turns to steam after that. So the sides of the cup can't be damaged by the dry heat of the oven. That's the whole principle behind the water bath. It keeps everything insulated, everything very moist. So, all right, so we're just going to pretend because these, I couldn't even measure for how small I would have to be with these. But basically, another great idea that Chris had, I won't take credit for it, was to create that lime acidity. He said, you know what, you're going to get a great kaffir lime flavor, but there's no acid in it. So he said, why don't you use some citric acid? I'm like, that's interesting. I happen to have some citric acid because I've been making some cheese recently. And I'm like, you got to be careful about how much you use. So I think I used about 1/16 of a teaspoon per 8 ounces. Because you don't want to curdle it. You just want to give that acidity. So I put in, we'll just call that, if that was a 16th, then that's a 160th of a teaspoon in there. And then I go, let's say, one of those drops, ginger. This is really walking the line between mad scientist in the lab and cup. There is, and that's what you see now. Like you see all the chefs on TV doing the molecular gastronomy. It's like for a while everything was like farm to table, fresh and natural. And now it's like molecular gastronomy. So now we've like completely gone full circle, and now all the science stuff is heading back into the kitchen. It's kind of wild. Oh, love that. Kaffir. So put a little kaffir lime. So we got the citric acid, got the kaffir. Ginger. Okay. And that's it. And that is my Southeast Asian creme brulee. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to garnish that with a little fresh lime zest to give the visual presentation. A lot of times you want your garnish to sort of visually represent whatever you're doing. The next one I thought was easier. I'm also a big fan of lavender. And lavender is great when you steep it in things. You get some lavender flowers. A couple of great things to do is let it steep in some honey and then strain it out. You have an incredible complement for a cheese plate. You bust out some lavender honey, people are going to be going nuts. They'll be like, what is this? You want to go even crazier? Put a little truffle essence in there. You get a truffle lavender honey, and that'll really, really blow people away. And that's actually, as you know, like a truffle extract is really popular now because if you know the cost of a real truffle, it's, you know, it's prohibitively expensive for the common consumer to use any kind of truffle. And there are some phenomenal truffle oils out there. So with this one, I just went really simple with a couple of drops of lavender. And you get that beautiful perfume. It's playing the role that vanilla would play here, but it's a little bit different. It's like vanilla, but it takes a left turn at lavender. A little different. So the last one, we decided to have fun. And I'm kind of playing on a few different things that are popular right now. Big food trend right now is salted caramel. Have you had the salted caramel? It's like over the past 5 years, I'd say, we've collectively developed a taste for salty and sweet. Just a couple of days ago, I had, not making this up, a Mountain Dew and Doritos cupcake. Much better than it sounds. I'm telling you, I'm like, on paper, this is disgusting, and you should be shut down. But it was amazing. He used the Mountain Dew syrup, incorporated it into a cream cheese frosting, again, which is just cream cheese and sugar, and usually vanilla, and made a crusted ring of Doritos. And there's no way on earth that that should be good. And it was. So, you know, thank goodness for innovators out there who will try anything. Now with this one, we're creating the salted caramel, but that poses a little bit of a problem to get actual caramel into the custard. So we have a phenomenal caramel extract, which very much reminds me of what they use in a lot of the coffee shops now, where you get the caramel pump 1, 2. That's kind of like what this is. So I went with just a little caramel flavor, and then a little actual salt, because salt is salt, and that's salt. And then we also decide, you know what, let's plan another trend, combining savory and sweet. So this is a really, really awesome bacon flavoring. And then how Chris described this to me was like, it's more of a savory, meaty, you know, not a smoky so much as more of a pancetta. He's actually referring to the extract as like the Italian rolled bacon. And that's what it is. When you smell this, you get your salivatory glands right here, like if you're smelling meat, like that umami flavor. That's what this is. This is a jar of umami. So I used a little bit of the bacon. So now we got the salted caramel with the bacon. It's getting crowded in this small ramekin. And then finally, because I am a barbecue guy, I had to bring a little smoke. So we finally got a little chipotle extract. And this is pure smoke. And that's another thing that we use a lot in cooking is liquid smoke. It's in a lot of barbecue sauces and things like that. Smoke is one of my favorite ingredients. So we have our smoky bacon salted caramel creme brulee, we have a lavender creme brulee, and we have our Southeast Asian creme brulee, and I made them all very simply with my little droppers and my creme brulee base. Then we pop them in to our water bath. We do the TV thing. Always the best move. You'd be surprised at how inedible a lot of the food cooked on TV is. I mean, really bad. For one guy doing a cooking show like this, there's an army of people in a makeshift kitchen in a garage out back making all the food. But I actually got to spend the day with some of the chefs here in the kitchen at the hotel, and we made these creme brulees in an amazing combo oven. I worked with Chef Chris, the chef here, and this oven, I didn't even have to use the water bath. We just put them in these pans, cover them with plastic, and the oven cooked with steam. And then here we go, we got our nice creme brulees. We have our custards anyway. So the finishing is kind of the same. You do a little bit of a dusting of sugar on top. Just a nice thin layer and an even coating of sugar. You kind of just move it around so it's even. You don't want any big chunks. And then comes the fun part. Now, these are really easy to come by. If you do any sort of soldering or any plumbing work in the home, you've got your Bernzomatic. You don't need to get a fancy looking kitchen torch. Better use the same one you like to use with plumbing. And you just kind of move this around. The trick is not to stay in one spot too long, otherwise it'll start to burn. So I'll move on to the next one. And you basically melt the sugar into its liquid form, which is what caramel is. Caramel is melting sugar, or it's actually the conversions of sugar. So look at that, beautiful. So you can actually like move the syrup around. See how it's kind of melty, gooey on top, and that's just gonna freeze. That's a perfect looking one. It's got like that amber color. That's what you want. And then we'll just kind of finish those up. It melts, and then you have a couple of seconds. But really, you don't want to hold it in one place too long, because then it's like dark brown is amazing. Like they call it like the Maillard reaction is conversion of starches to sugar, and that deep dark brown, like on a well-seared steak or a piece of toast, is a good example. When you put black, bad. Dark brown, good. Black, bad. You want caramelization and not carbonization. Okay. So now I got my triple creme brulee thread here, and just to kind of make them, I can't really tell what is what. So, as I said before, so we're going to do a little bit of lime zest. I really hope that's the right one. I have no idea. How can you even tell? So we got the lime zest on the Southeast Asian one, and then I took some actual bacon. Oh, by the way, if you are a vegetarian, there is no bacon in the bacon one, but we put a little bit of bacon on top, so just avoid that. So you get a little bit of a bacon as an indicator, and it's candy bacon, which is just baked with sugar on top and bottom. And if you do the candy bacon, you want to do it on a screen. It's a great trick for cooking bacon. You want to cook it off the pan and put some parchment paper or something on the bottom of the pan so you catch all the grease and it doesn't sit in it, and it'll cook perfectly every time. And then the lavender flowers